guys, welcome back to our channel.
It's Sam
And Crystal, and if today is your first day, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so that you can be notified whenever we upload a video. This is the second part of Wisdom Wednesdays. If you've been here before, welcome back. Thank you. I hope you learned something the first time. For those of you that sent us questions, that sent us emails, DMs, whatever it was, thank you so much. I think we've gotten back to everyone by now. Thank you again. We appreciate your input. Please be sure to do the same for today's video. If you have questions, you have input, anything you feel like you can add to it, please send it on to us. We'd love to hear from you guys. So let's get into part 2 of Wisdom Wednesdays.
I'm sorry, it's like
So last week when we had our video, we talked about communication being a key piece of advice that we've always heard, but one that was lacking in the details of how to actually communicate with your partner, your friend, your family, whatever it is. And we wanted to address that today and give you some tips, some tricks, and some things that we've been trying to implement, things that have been working for us on how to communicate and the best and most effective ways to do so with your partner. So let's get into that. Last week we talked about the formula for communication, which is listening plus hearing does not equal listening to respond
or
reacting. Listening plus hearing equals understanding. That's very important. It's something that a lot of us miss. Most times we listen to somebody tell us how we've hurt them or how something we've done has affected them, and we usually just listen so that we bide our time so that we can have something to say back. We've already been formulating our responses in our head even before that person is finished, and a lot of times we even interrupt that person while they're saying whatever it is that they
eager to just
to say your feelings, that you don't actually listen and understand what they're saying. For example, I think we can do a little practice of what that might look like, the ineffective communication and how people usually just listen to respond. You want to try something like that? Maybe you can share a concern that you have and I'll try to respond in an ineffective way, and maybe this might help you guys.
Okay, let's see. Perfect. Babe, I gotta work at 6 o'clock. It takes me 30 minutes to get home. Now is 7:30. A whole hour after, you can just call, text, and say, "Hey, babe, are you okay?
What?
Is that okay?"
What are you even talking about? How can I call you? I thought you stopped to go somewhere. Like, how is that my fault that you didn't get home in 30 minutes? I don't drive. You are the boss. Like, how is that my fault? What are you even talking about? Ineffective. I've completely missed everything that he said to me, and now I'm gonna show you. We're gonna use that same issue, and we're gonna react I'm gonna respond in a way that should be part of effective communication. Let's try that again.
Good. Babe, it takes me 30 minutes to get home. Now it's 7:30. You mean to say you could at least call, text, and say, "Hey, babe, is everything okay? Like, where you at?" Nothing of the sort.
I hear you telling me that you felt uncared for and neglected, and I hear you and I understand, and I'm sorry. In the future, going forward, I'll try to be sure to show more concern and, not let this happen again. I'm sorry.
Right there and then, you see, it now opens the room for a more easier and smoother conversation from both ends.
Yep. And what that does is it acknowledges the feelings that he felt. He felt neglect. He felt uncared for. And it also acknowledges my role in those feelings and me taking responsibility for that. And it also shows how I communicated that back to him because I actually listened this time and I heard what he said. versus the first time where I reacted. I was very reactive in my response, and I barely heard the core of his issue. Another point that we wanted to talk about is the different forms of communications that a lot of us use to communicate. Some of us might be silent communicators, and others might be verbal, loud, aggressive communicators. That's not a mark against you if you're one of those two, but we need to understand how that person communicates the best way to communicate with them.
Yep.
In the case of a silent communicator, usually that person does not respond immediately. They might need some time to process, and it might seem like they're rehashing things once you've already moved on. But usually that person takes time to go back over what is being said, listen. I'm not saying they'll be an effective listener, but they usually need some time before that they can respond. It might not be at the drop of a hat like some of us might require, and that can sometimes be frustrating for a partner that is verbal and needs an answer right now. If you are a silent communicator and you find yourself in that category, what you need to do with your partner, or what we believe you need to do, is to communicate that to your partner. In the case of an issue that we just went over in the first part of the video, you would say to your partner, I hear what you said, and I'm sorry, but I need some time to process it. I'm not trying to dismiss your feelings or negate what you've said to me.
Right.
I just need a little time to process it, and then we can go over it again. Is that okay? That's something that you need to communicate. You can't just not say anything and walk away and leave that person. Silence could be an effective tool of communication because it can convey, hurt, it can convey anger, it can convey confusion, and you don't want the wrong thing to be conveyed in your silence. You want to let that person know that what you're doing isn't ignoring them, but it's processing so that you can properly communicate what it is you need to say.
Yep.
And on the reverse, you might be a verbal communicator or right now communicator, and a lot of times if you're dealing with an opposite of you, like a silent communicator, that can cause the person to put their backs up against the wall and retreat from you instead of actually solving the problem if they feel like you're aggressive or attacking them in that format. And what you need to do, or what we believe you need to do in that case, is to say, hey, I'm not attacking you. I'm not, trying to overtalk you or come at you in the wrong way. I just would like to express how I feel. I know that you're a silent communicator and you need time to process this, but this is how I feel right now. We can revisit this. I know that it won't, once we be revisiting it, it won't be us rehashing it, it'd be us solving the issue. It may seem, what we're saying may seem trivial and seem like something like, that's too easy. But a lot of times we ignore the simple and the easy, and that can be the most life-changing thing that we can implement in our relationship.
Because in most times, the simplest thing is to just let that person know how you feel, whether it be how you want to process the information, if the information, whether it's right away or a few hours or a day or two after. Just let them know. It gives them, okay, at least he listened to me. Yeah.
And you give them a timeline.
Exactly.
And if you're a silent communicator or whatever, don't take too long to come back to the situation, because you don't want things festering and building and blowing out of proportion. And you also don't want something that person might have moved on, because last week we talked about moving on even without an apology. That person might have come to the understanding that, okay, I need to move on. There's not going to be any apologies. There's not going to be anything. And then you bring that back up. It's going to open back wounds that needed to stay shut.
Right.
For the healing of your relationship. So that's very important. The last thing we want to talk about is how to communicate through anger and frustration. That's one of the biggest things that I feel like in communication, a lot of us, when we come to loggerheads, it is so hard to communicate with your partner without going for the jugular, without trying to hurt the person. When we're angry, we say things that we don't realize will stick with somebody for the longest time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Usually my rule of thumb when we argue, because we do, we're humans, that's how it is, you know. We're not the same person. We have different brains. When we argue, my rule of thumb that I've been trying to implement is to not say the first, second, or the third thing that comes to mind. Because that's usually the thing. I've got a slick mouth. That's usually the thing that's meant to hurt your feelings, to put me on top of the argument, to make me feel like I'm putting my best foot forward in my defense. And that's usually the most hurtful thing. I try to go for the fourth, fifth, and sixth thing. Sometimes that might not be the best things that you could say, but at least it's not my first thought, my second thought, or my third thought. Because those could be the things that will rent the seam of your relationship, that it's not something that you can put back together. You don't want to allow your anger to destroy your relationship. Words hurt, and they stay at the back of people's mind, and people find it hard to move on from those things. And if you find that your words that you said has hurt your spouse or your partner, and they keep bringing it up, it means they aren't over it. You might say that they move on, you need to get over it, but they aren't, and you need to address the root of that. You might have triggered some kind of insecurity that person has with your words. Yeah. You might say, oh, you're ugly, or you're like your mother, or whatever it is. And that might have triggered something in that person. And, you know, now it's going to sit at the back of their head every time. Every time you go out now, you tell her, oh, you're ugly or whatever. And now every time you go out, she's going to wonder, did he find somebody else pretty? Did she find somebody more handsome? You know, you don't want to sow seeds in the thoughts of your spouse or your partner, because when those seeds blossom, it's not going to bear good fruit. You know what I mean? It could be something that's detrimental to your relationship. These are some things that we find that have been helpful. Have you found it helpful?
Definitely.
Yeah. These are things we've been trying to implement, and we hope by sharing it with you, you can find some ways to, you know, to weave it into the fabric of your relationship. You know, of course,
in all relationships.
Of course, the biggest thing is to, in all things, you know, find your source of faith. You know, we're Christians, and we try to pray it out, you know, after we've had an argument. It might not be together, it might be individually, but prayer works. It is important to have faith that things can move from strength to greater strength.
Yeah.
Argument, sorry babe, can I complete this thought?
Yeah, sorry.
An argument isn't the end of your relationship. Everybody fights, everybody has issues. Don't allow an issue to be the end of your relationship. Find the solution to the issue. When you're fighting, you're not fighting each other, you're fighting the issue. There's always a solution.
Yeah. I want to add to prayer, because prayer is key, and prayer for everything works. The thing is, what I find though is that while you pray for the issue, you must ask yourself if you're going to do what God asked you to do, which is to be willingly forgive that person.
True.
For example, that person, your spouse, I stopped saying that person, your spouse, your boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever, they wronged you. But because of love and because of, you know, whatever relationship you guys have, you want to move past it. You're praying for that. But at the same time, are you willing to forgive with a pure heart? Even though they wrong you, whether they curse you out, they tell you, you know, whatever, they curse out in an American way or in a Caribbean way, which is dirty. You know, your Emma, you know, daddy and whatnot. But the point is, are you willing to forgive as you pray?
Absolutely.
You know? Yeah.
You know, what we said is important to us, and we hope that it, you know, we can leave an impact, a mark in your life, in your relationship. If you have questions about anything we said, if you'd like to hear more about it, you'd like some more examples, feel free to reach out to us. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. One last thing in prayer too. I think I did this once with you, but for people who are believers and pray, if you have like a big issue or any issue, try praying with your partner. And while praying with them, bring up the fact that how you feel. Say like, for example, God, my boyfriend and I, girlfriend, or we've been fighting. Please step into our lives and fix our marriage or relationship. Now, in just saying that with your partner, you never know what will happen on their end. You never know what seed you're sowing in their life. Sometimes they'll be like, wow, like sometimes they'll be touched and moved, like they really want us to move past this, despite who's wrong.
Right.
Try it out, guys. Just try it out. I'm done now. I'm done.
No problem. Yeah, but like I was saying, if you'd like us to address anything further for you, reach out to us, send us an email. It's mitchell.london2018@gmail.com. Reach out to us on Facebook and Instagram at Culturally Gifted. Follow us, like all of our social media.
Yeah.
Like this video, comment on this video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell.
Yeah. Culturally with a K, okay?
Yep.
All right,
Thank you guys for watching.
You.
Be sure to look out for next week's video. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be on budget. So,
Cha-ching.
see you guys soon. Bye!
Bye.